Why are we at war? Marco Rubio.
Does Congress have to weigh in? Is the president defending it? And does Congress have to weigh in? And was there an imminent threat? Did you tell lawmakers that there was an imminent
There
threat?
absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked, that they would immediately come after us. And we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow before we responded, because the Department of War assessed that if we did that, if we waited for them to hit us first after they were attacked, and by someone else, Israel attacked them, they hit us first, and we waited for them to hit us, we would suffer more casualties and more deaths. We went proactively in a defensive way to prevent them from inflicting higher damage. Had we not done so, there would have been hearings on Capitol Hill about how we knew that this was going to happen, and we didn't act preemptively to prevent more casualties and more loss of life.
So, Iran didn't pose any direct threat to America. The narrative is like, oh, they chant death to America, they say death to America. But there was no direct threat from Iran. They were just trying to prevent a threat. Every other war, Pearl Harbor for World War II, right? That's why we entered World War II. Vietnam, you had the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. We figured out that was a lie. Iraq, they said there were weapons of mass destruction. So, but this one is just, they attacked Israel and it was an imminent threat.
A chance to see a lot of reporting. I don't understand what the confusion is. Let me explain it to you, and I'll do it once again as clearly as possible. Perhaps you'll report it that way. The United States is conducting an operation to eliminate the threat of Iran's short-range ballistic missiles and the threat posed by their Navy, particularly to naval assets. That is what it is focused on doing right now, and it's doing quite successfully. I'll leave it to the Pentagon and the Department of War to discuss the tactics behind that and the progress that's being made. That is the clear objective of this mission. The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond and respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true, because in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
You know, they're probably even hiding the amount of American troops that have died. They're bringing back coffins wrapped in American flags, which is a lie. And no disrespect, rest in peace to these American soldiers. Now hearing, I said this yesterday and the day before, that if this were to be truthful, these American patriots who believe that they were doing things to protect our country, they should be wrapped in an American flag. But because this is a war for Israel, let's not keep them in a lie in the afterlife. They were lied to in this life. It doesn't make sense for them to be wrapped in this flag. It makes more sense for them to be wrapped in the Israeli flag, for the respect of their families and for the respect of the other soldiers who are going to die too.